Ottawa's market just delivered one of its sharpest slowdowns in sales all year, but prices are actually holding stronger than expected. And with the Bank of Canada pausing rates officially today, the next 90 days will set the tone for all of 2026. Here's exactly what to expect as buyers and sellers heading into 2026 and in Ottawa right now. Let's take a look and break it down.
All right. So now I'm going to go into all these statistics. And the first thing we're going to look at is one of my favorites, obviously, is the new listings and the sold listings. Now, what I've done is put them side by side, something I love comparing now. Um, this one here. So listings are up slightly over the last few weeks. Well, they're up and down, right? So this is typical for the end of the year. We're going to see listings drop off all the way, but we're also going to see sales slow down. And we had a bit of a spike here, which is interesting to see. It's kind of what I predicted is September, October is going to have a bit of a spike because there was a lot of pent up demand waiting for kind of that fall market, fall kind of pop. And we saw that in 2024 as well. We see that little curve right there. It went up a little bit and then it dropped. And we're seeing kind of the same curve here, a little bit of a spike and then it's going to drop again, right? But one thing we want to know is one thing we want to make sure is we're going to see this happening in the next few months, right? So we're going to see 4 weeks of January of a slow come up, but we're also going to see this, right? Like this wasn't typical. We saw this thing spike last year, but typically it's gradual, right? And I think we're going to see that same spike as we did last year, this year as well. Well, this coming year as well. So keep an eye on this. Listings always spike kind of in the middle of the year, and so do sales too, right? But like we got to watch that uh, because this year we kind of had a peak right here, and it wasn't very long. Typically, you see a bit of a longer peak, but it's kind of typical. But still, 373 new listings this week. New this week last year was 308. We're 21% above that. Again, speaking to the large inventory we've had over all year. And then this year we had 221 new sales. And then the same time last year we had 198. So we're up 11% in terms of sales. So keep that in mind. We're up on a lot of categories, but let's take a look at this. So average sale price by week, 647 this year compared to last year in the same week was 676, down 4%. But look at what's happening. And this is residential only. I'm looking at residential. We're talking about townhomes, single homes, semi-detached, all that stuff, right? And we're not talking about condos, condo townhomes. None of that is included. Look how high we peaked this year. We were above 750 as an average price point at one point in the year, right? We even had major spikes throughout the year. So this shows that the Ottawa market, the Ottawa family is growing and they want to be in single family residential homes, right? And compared to, let's do a big comparison here. This is the residential and condo market. Average price points are very low, right? And that's being affected by the condos. So if we look at that and then we look at this, it's the tale of two different markets, right? And then if we look at the condo market, the average price point is so sporadic. It's one week it's up, one week it's down because there's so little condos selling that whenever there's a big spike, that means a lot of expensive condos sold, and whenever there's a small spike, that means a lot of cheap condos sold. So it's just like look at this. Like we had obviously a lot of major high end units sell in the month of December these 2 years. And you can see that, right? And the same thing is here, right? You had a bunch of cheap sales here, then they went up and they went down. So it's just super sporadic. It's hard to use to compare. But like this is very realistic. Takes into the whole market as into a whole. But I love this one because it's a little bit more in line with the others. This one is kind of, but it just shows that like we just had a little bit of too many peaks and bounds that I don't really agree with. I feel like there's a lot more um, realism to the average price point for the residential market. And all right, yeah. Now what I'm going to go into is this one is the MLS residential market. So we're going to look at the activity. So this one was very important to me. Sales activity for November, we're at 864 sales for the month of November, 12,862 for the year to date. So 864 for the month of November. That's actually down almost 20% from the year before, down 20% from the year before that, up 20% from November 2022, and down 40% from November 2020, and down in November 2018, we're down 16% from that, and we're up 8% from November 2015. So 10-year market. Um, Average price point. Now, this is the residential market altogether, so not including any. Sorry, it's including everything, right? So, $683,000 price point. We're up from last November's price point at, by 2.3%, up 6.8% from the November before that, and up 6.6% from the November before that. I won't include these because this is a huge difference, right? So we know what happened there. Sales to list ratio 9.7.7, which so 97% of most sellers are getting 97% of their ask price, right? Um, and then November 2023, or sorry, November 2020, we had 103% of ask price. So everything was going over asking. So you can see here, nothing in the Ottawa market was ever really going over asking by that much. Median days on market 26, 26, 21, 8, and then we're at 27. So it doesn't show too bad, but let's take a look at this. This is year to date. So 12,862. We're up over last year. We're up from the year before that, and we're up from November 22. We're down from 18% from 2020. Now, these two numbers here, we're up from these two numbers because we've had more inventory. So yes, there's less sales happening compared to the inventory, but overall inventory is up, which means there's a lot more sales happening in general, right? And then we're going to look at the average price point is 702,000. We're up 3% from last year. We're up 4% from the year before that. We're down almost 2% from November 2022, right? So, and then your median days on market is 22, 20 last year, 17 last year, the year before that, 8 in 2022, and then 7 in 2020. So it really shows you a lot. This one is one I really want to touch on. It's the November listings. So new listings, we had 1,425, up from last year at 1,307. We have very comparable numbers to 2023. But look at this. We have 4.2 months of inventory. We're way up from last year, right? And we're similar to 2023. And this is what I was talking about. 2023 was a very similar year to this and how it felt. Active listings, we have 3,600 active listings currently on the market, right? Active listings, we've never had this many since 2017. So if you're looking for a home, this is the time. Like, you have so much choice, and it's great because not everything is moving. There's some stuff that's moving, but not everything is moving, right? And then the new listings year to date, we've had 25,000 new listings hit the market. Months of inventory year to date, we're at 3.1, right? So I hope everybody can distinguish that. So this is the month of November only, how much inventory we have, months of inventory, and this is year to date, how much months of inventory we have, right? So same thing, very similar numbers to 2017. Last year, we're at 2.7 months of inventory in November, 3.1 this month. Active listings, 3,678. And we haven't had that again, right? Like 2017 was the only time we've had that many. Single family market. This is where I'm going to talk about something very different. Single family market and townhouse market, two complete different factors and two complete different things in Ottawa, right? So sales activity, we're down 20% from last year, and we're up 13%. 14% from the year before that. We're up 12% from the year before that. So 22 and 23. Now, average price point is 834,000 for a single family home, right? That's up 5% from last year. That's up 10% from the year before that, and 10% from the year before that, and 20% from 2020. So what does that mean? That tells us that the Ottawa market, people are looking for single family homes mainly, right? Because I'm going to go to, this is all November numbers, but let's go year to date, year to date. So year to date, $859,000 average price, but we're up 4% from November 2024. We're up from 4% from November 2023. We're down 2% from 22, and we're up 29% from November 2020, right? Sales activity total of single family market, we have 6,652, pardon me. That's more than last year, which were an increase of 1.5%, and we're an increase of 16% from the year before that in 2023. Now let's take a look. So so single family market, we got 4 months of inventory in November only. Year to date, we got 3 months of inventory. Now townhouse market, look at this. Sales activity, 300, down 10% from last year in November only, right? Up 56% from the November before that, and up 49% from the year before that, down almost 30% from November 2020. So this tells me that townhouses are not really in that much demand, right? And we have 3.1 months of inventory in November only. We have 2.4 months of inventory in townhouses alone for the year. Now, average price point is for November is 543,000, down from last year, right? So great sign if you're looking for a townhome in the month of November, December, and January, because these price points are going to be very relevant for you over the next 3 months. Median days on market is 21 to 20, like 27 right now. Sorry. But year to date, right? So we have 4,000 sales. So we had 6,600 sales of single family homes, which have a $300,000 higher purchase price on average. And then we're looking at less sales for something more affordable, which can still fit for a four-person family, right? So 564,000 on average gets you into a townhome. And we have 2,000 less sales than a single family, or 2,500 less sales, right? Where was I? Year to date. Yeah, 6,652 and 4,048. So that's a $2,600 sales difference between that and a $300,000 difference in price point. Crazy, right? Like that shows you what people in Ottawa are looking for. If you have a single family home, that's what somebody wants. And the likelihood of a buyer moving up to a single family home is very likely. The likelihood of a single family home owner selling to go down into a townhouse, very unlikely. It's usually they're going from a small single home to a bigger single home, or a mid-sized single home to an even bigger luxury style home, right? So keep that in mind. Like this is exactly what's happening in the market, and you can see the shifts and why the price points are changing, right? The average price point for a townhome used to be in the 600s easily, right? We're in the high 590s at some points in the year. So just to show you guys, now condo market, apartments, sales activity 111, down 35% from last year, down 20% from the year before that, down 14% from the year before that, and down almost 60% from November 2020. This is huge, right? And the average price point is 452,000 for the month of November. Year to date, it's at 436,000, down 0.1% from last year, down 0.1% from the year, sorry, up 0.1% from the year before that, down 3.7% from November 2022. Months of inventory, we're up 4.7, huge. We have tons of inventory. The fact that the prices aren't down more is because nobody's buying them. Nobody wants to buy a condo. That's why we have 5 months of inventory for a condo. So if you want a condo, go pick whichever one you want. But the market is telling you it's not a good decision to do that because we have so much inventory. There's no, like, you're not making a good decision. Doesn't mean you can't build equity. Doesn't mean you can't own your first home. It just theoretically and statistically, it's showing you that condo markets are not they're not doing well. Unless you're getting something for steal, it doesn't make sense. Um, and that's kind of like, look at this. For the month of November, we have 7.2 months of inventory for condos. Overall, year to date, 4.7. So these are huge changes. Again, we know the condo market's been tanking all year. That's fine, we get that, but this really puts it in perspective. And I love to look at numbers because this shows me, right? There's 4.7 months of inventory. The prices haven't dropped much, but that's because nobody's buying them, right? So we can say, okay, condos are still at a decent price point, but they're not because they're not moving. Whereas we can see here, right, like we have so much more activity. There's 300 homes that sold on average for 553,000 that are townhomes, and we had 111 sell at a 100K lower price point, which almost a lot of people can get approved at. Keep in mind, one thing that a lot of people don't understand is that getting a condo, you still have to qualify for the purchase price of the condo and how much the condo fees are, right? Because those are two things that factor in. If you're getting like, if the condo is 450,000 and you're approved for 450 with a $500 condo fee, why don't you just ask, hey, how much would it cost for me to own a freehold townhome? You don't have a maintenance fee, and on average, you're only spending $120,000 more. What if your approval is the same and you're getting way more home? Again, that's what kind of lifestyle do you want to live? Do you want to be in a condo? Do you want to have a condo lifestyle in the city? very different than living in the suburbs for 564,000, but maybe it's something that you look at and say, okay, maybe I should just do this. Maybe this is a smart decision for me now, and maybe down the road I'll get into something better because I made this decision now, as opposed to jumping into condo right off the bat. So again, not for me to tell you what you should or shouldn't purchase, but just looking at the math and how it all looks, to me, it makes a little bit more sense. Um, Canada 5-year bonds. I wanted to talk about this. This is going straight into interest rates. So the bond rates went up as soon as we were talking about rate hikes. They held it at 2.25%, which means in the end that the rate hikes might be around the corner. I don't know for sure, but typically when the government bond year sorry the bond rates go up, is the fixed rates are going to go up. I was seeing people get 3.5, 3.65, 3.45 on 5-year fixed terms. I don't think those rates are going to be available much longer. So if you have rates that are pending and things that are moving, going on that, go get your rates secured right now, because we don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months. Now, looking back at the year, so let's take a look. So January 2025, we dropped 0.25, 0.25 in March again, held for the next 3 months, and then we dropped the last 2 months. The last two times in September and October, and then we held in December this year. So what do we have coming up? We do have January 28th is an interest rate and monetary policy announcement report. What I'm going to see here is I'm expecting us to see a lot of inflation, a lot of spending during the holidays. People are buying lots of gifts, getting vacations for the holidays. All these things are going to be a lot of money being spent. And I think that's what's going to happen. And it's going to trigger um, the inflation to go up slightly. I don't know if we're going to explode, but I think we're going to go up slightly. And what it's going to happen is they're going to have an announcement here, and I don't think they're going to move an inch. I think they're going to hold steady for a bit, and I don't think we're probably going to see I don't think we even see our first rate drop or hike until June. I don't think we're going to see any hikes throughout the year, but I think we see hold all year until June. Honestly, I don't see any drops coming in the near future because rates are already very, very cheap and the prices aren't down that much, right? So everybody's got to keep that in mind. How much lower will the prices go? That's to be determined. Like if we see a spike in spending here, and then we see a spike in prices go up because things start selling and inventory starts getting lower and lower, like that's going to trigger a lot of different things, and they're going to be forced to not be able to make any moves, and the bank's going to have to hold and hope that the market balances itself out, and if it doesn't, then it might actually trigger them to start increasing the rates. And that's why I'm saying anybody right now, if you have a good rate secured, go buy, because you don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months. You don't know, and uncertainty is is not something you can control, right? Could the rates drop further and could the prices get better? Sure, maybe. I don't know. Nobody knows that. Could the reverse happen? Could prices go up and then rates spike at the same time, and then you're paying 50K more for the same house, and you're paying 0.75 more or a whole percent higher than what you were quoted 6 months ago? That could also happen. So keep that in mind. Again, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but it's just something that you have to kind of keep in mind when you're making these decisions. These are big moves. The other thing too is like this one here, Bank of Canada done cutting rates at least until 2027. So that means these guys think, Reuters thinks that, of course, can't do anything here because the ads, but whatever. Let's go back here. Bank of Canada done. So yeah, so they think there's not going to be a single drop until 2027, which honestly, I could see that happening. I don't know if it's going to happen. I could see maybe one or two rate drops, but maybe it doesn't happen at all. Maybe they wait till January 2027 and say, you know what, we're going to hold tight. Let's tuck our tails for now, and let's see what happens in 2027, and maybe we start dropping rates then and get into the fixed rates of somewhere in the low threes, right? Like 3.2%, 3.3. That'd be a dream, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. Bank of Canada tampers expectations for rate moves. So let's see what they say here. So Financial Post says, of course, I can't read anything on here without I don't with the comments here. I don't see how BOC will be able to hold rates this low with inflation on the rise again, and with government and consumer debt reaching the stratosphere. So we're going to get swamped by rapidly falling U.S. interest rates when Trump gets his new stooges in there. Oh, look out below. So kind of similar sentiments, right? Like I think the spending is going to be creeping up. Um, But overall, my thoughts on the market. I think if you're a buyer and you have your rate secured and you got the next 3 to 4 months to decide on what you want to buy, if you're working with an agent, focus on a certain area. If you're looking at new builds, let me know. I got access to tons of new builds, but try securing something over the winter because you don't know what's going to happen in the summer or spring or even next winter. Um, that's if you want to make a move in the next couple of months. If you don't, if you want to wait another year, then wait another year and see what happens. But I would say focus on the area you want to be in. Look closely at what's happening in the market. If things start moving quickly in that market, you want to get in before everything's done and sold, and then you're stuck with low inventory and you're having to mitigate, bidding wars and offer presentations and all that stuff. Now, if you're a seller, again, if you're planning to list in the spring, you need to be preparing today. Today, like you need to have a plan, an action plan in place and watching the market in your specific area of what's happening so that you're not stuck chasing the market when it's time to list. You need to know what you need to prepare. You need to know what you need to do to the house, clean up the house, prep the house, stage it, whatever. And if you want to watch my videos on how to prepare a house, watch them below. I'll link them. But no, like in all seriousness, if you're selling in the next 6 to 8 months, you need to start preparing now so you have an action plan of what you're going to lead yourself to success, and you got to have plan A, plan B, plan C, and plan D right in the back pocket just in case whatever happens, right? We don't know what's going to happen in the overall economy, but at least we know, right? Like if you're aiming to be in this area, you got to know what's happening over these next few weeks, over these next few months. And if, like if the listings are way above here, and your neighborhood is being affected by 4, 5, 6, 7 listings that are not selling, you gotta strategically price it or strategically be prepared when you're gonna list the property. So those are my tips and tricks, guys. If you want any hyper local breakdowns for your current market that you're in or what's happening in Barhaven, Orleans, Canada, downtown core, whatever it is, give me a DM, shoot me a DM, or respond to my emails whenever you feel like it. Just give me a shout. I will set up a full breakdown of your local neighborhood, the overall market, the micro market, all that stuff, and get you guys prepared for either a really good buy or a really good sale where you're going to have everything work out the way you want it to. I track this stuff weekly, and don't be afraid to ask me any questions. I will either do a deep dive or I'll have the answer already ready for you. And again, if you guys like this video, feel free to like, share, and subscribe for more. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Happy holidays, and I wish you guys tons of love and success over the holidays. I hope you guys enjoy your time with the families, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. I'll be making a ton of content over the holidays. I'll be doing lots of tips and tricks videos. We also did an amazing today we actually did our Chio toy drive. So if you want to see what happened at our Chio toy drive, we donate to them. We donate to Chio every year. So I'll be posting that soon as well, kind of a little bit behind the scenes and all that stuff. So that'll be very fun. And I hope you guys like these videos. If you have any questions, feel free to drop by. See you guys, and don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day.